You did mutter.
Yeah. We might not have volume.
Mr. Irvin, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Thumbs up, okay.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Miss Lowell, Mr. O'Connor, Miss True. Here. Miss O'Connor.
Here.
Mr. Slavoski,
Here.
Mr. Wood.
Here. Y'all please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by Whittier Tech. Any audience members who wish to record any part of the meeting must inform the chairperson who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Mass Wiretap statute. First item on the agenda is going to be public comment. Were there any written public comments submitted?
There were not.
Okay. First one is Elizabeth Devaney.
Good evening, school committee. My name is Elizabeth Devaney. I'm a proud member of the Whittier Regional Education Association, and I also serve on our contract bargaining team, as most of you are aware. We recently started negotiations for a new contract for both Unit A and Unit B education workers at Whittier Tech. And given that St. Patrick's Day falls between tonight's meeting and our next negotiation session, we thought we'd bring you all a little bit of luck of the Irish and share with you just a few reasons why Whittier Tech is lucky to have us working with these students. For example, Whittier is lucky that I have the knowledge and experience to be able to craft an IEP in the new format in under 4 hours per student. Whittier is lucky that I help staff feel safe, included in the department and the school community. Whittier is lucky that I always put student learning first. Whittier is lucky that I am taking students to the Belle of the Ball next Saturday. Whittier is lucky that I spend hundreds of dollars on books for my classroom students. Whittier is so lucky I spend my own money to feed my students during after-school activities. Whittier Tech is lucky that I would rather come to work sick than call out because it's not worth the hassle. Whittier is lucky that I help former students write college essays, fill out forms, and apply to college. Thank you.
Thank you. Beverly Stickles. Just a reminder, if you're speaking, just name and address for the record before.
Hi, I'm Beverly Stickles. I live at 163 Water Street in Newburyport, and I teach medical assisting here at Whittier. I'm a former physician turned teacher, and I'm reading a few of my own and a few of my peers. Whittier is lucky that I give them pens and pencils. Whittier is lucky that I have the opportunity to watch my students play sports. My own is Whittier is lucky that I administer the NHA exam, which my students have been very successful over the last couple of years. And Whittier is lucky that so many of the medical assisting students go on to nursing school. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Susanna DeMora.
Hello, school committee. Whittier's lucky, excuse me, I'm Susanna DeMoro, 381 Amesbury Line Road, Haverhill. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm the ESL teacher, English as a Second Language teacher here at Whittier Tech. We're lucky to have you. Just want you to know thank you for your service. And Whittier is lucky for this teacher who says, my nights and weekends are rarely free. I go above and beyond a plan with other teachers outside of school hours. I help build social, emotional, and physical well-being of my fellow faculty with activities after school like snowshoeing, pickleball, and circuit training. And myself, I volunteer to coordinate the State Seal of Biliteracy for many of our students here. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Cashman.
Good evening. Catherine Cashman, and I live on 37 Marina Drive, Haverhill, Massachusetts. So I'm going to read a few of my, I'm the Design and Visual Communications instructor, and this is my 16th year. I'm going to read a few colleagues, and then I'll read my own. I am committed to making the grade 9 math teaching and learning the best in the state of Massachusetts. I am lucky I can continue to develop my teaching skills by taking classes and attending PD. Lucky that I am always happy to volunteer. Whittier Tech is lucky that I am flexible to changing the schedule. Then I will read my own. Whittier Tech is lucky to have me for the countless after-school hours that I spend on teacher prep work. They're also lucky for the times that I volunteer to be on the Ed Foundation and to work on design work for the Ed Foundation. For all the design work and photography that I've done during after-school activities. For going to events such as the school play and sports to support our students. And then lastly, for stepping up in a big way during COVID when my coworker got ill and then died. I had my students, his students, and an elective, and I managed to do all that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Cindy Yetman.
Good evening, school committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Cindy Yetman. I live at 6 Newton Road in Amesbury. You are so lucky to have this amazing school. You are so lucky to have this amazing staff. You are so lucky to have your amazing students. My cousin Patty Lowe spoke so highly of her career here at Whittier as your former special education director. I felt compelled to take out an application to substitute teach here. Almost 10 years later, I do not regret that decision. I am consistently thanked by your teachers, your students, your administrators go out of their way to show their appreciation of me. I'm very lucky to be a small part of the Whittier family. I hope all this good luck translates to gratitude and results in a mutually agreeable contract settlement. Thank you for allowing me to be a small part of the Whittier family. I am so lucky. Thank you.
Thank you. And Katie Staunton.
Hi, good evening, school committee. My name is Katie Staunton. I live at 520 LaGrange Street, West Roxbury, Massachusetts. I am an English teacher, and I am the current president for the WREA. Like everybody before me, I have a couple of lucky charms from my colleagues, and then I'm going to read my own. Donate to the Whittier Tech Foundation yearly, buying pencils to give to students, donate food and clothing to drives during the school year. I try to attend Whittier sporting events with my children to show support for our students. I offer additional extra help opportunities before and after school. I participated in the staff versus student basketball game, and then this person wants to publicly be acknowledged that the staff had won for the 3rd year in a row. Buying books for my choice reading library. I advise Skills USA competitions, and then I also provide support as a chaperone on the overnight skills trips. It's a weekend in Marlborough, and then I had the fantastic opportunity to spend a week in Atlanta with all of our gold medal winning students 2 years ago. Thank you for your time and your attention tonight. As you can see, there's a lot more than just luck behind what makes Whittier Tech so great. The examples you heard tonight came from our members and show just how our educators go above and beyond the requirements of the contract every day and in ways big and small. As we continue with our contract negotiations, we hope that you will consider what you heard tonight in the spirit with which it was intended and work with us to achieve our goals of modern parental and family leave, fair compensation for all, including living wages for the educational support professionals in Unit B, and improving our working conditions. which are our students' learning conditions. And then as a side note, you guys are all welcome to my classroom on Monday, March 17th. I have a very successful competitive Irish step dancing career. No, I'm being dead serious. So you all, if you're around, come to my classroom and I will be dancing in the afternoon. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment that I missed? Anyone else? Once, twice. Thank you all for coming. I agree, we are lucky to have an amazing staff at Whittier Votech from top to bottom. It's a great staff here that does amazing work for the kids in this building, so thank you all. Next item on the agenda is going to be approval of minutes, February 12th, 2025, minutes of the regular school committee meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by
Kurt.
Kurt. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger. Oops. Ms. Delay.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. Irving.
Aye.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Ms. True.
I'm going to abstain.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski.
Yes.
Passes. Minutes of the February 26th, 2025, minutes of the budget workshop. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Ms.
Second.
Motion by Ms. O'Connor, seconded by Ms. Delay. Any discussion on the February 26th minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger.
Yes.
Ms. Delay.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. Irving.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Ms. True.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski.
Yes.
Passes. Next item on the payments of bills, financial reports, the treasurer's report. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Ms. True,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Murphy. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger.
Yes.
Ms. Delay.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. Irving.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Ms. True.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski.
Yes.
Passes. Communication, student representative report. Kaylee Habib. Kaylee, you're up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, and all other members of the school committee. Starting off with clubs, the Skills USA district exam is set for March 13th, with 160 students participating. Also join them for a Clean River Project fundraiser at Georgetown Flatbreads on March 25th, 5 to 9 p.m. to support efforts to clean up the Merrimack River. Chess Club continues to grow with new students attending. They are working on possible tournaments with other schools, but most of them require a minimum of students. They will have their first ever in-house random partner tournament in the upcoming weeks. The Whittier Tech Drama Club presents Disney's Little Mermaid this weekend. Shows are Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. Enjoy a magical underwater adventure brought to life by talented students. At the senior basketball game, members of Interact Club held a successful Huck a Duck fundraiser, raising $90 for both the club and the winner. It was a fun halftime event they'll definitely bring back. They're also running the concession stand on opening night of The Little Mermaid. Ski Club finished their season with their final trip to Pico, Vermont for a full day of skiing. Traveling by coach bus, there were 35 students and 3 Whittier Tech advisors attended the trip. They had a great season. The Yearbook Club is 98% complete and will be prepared electronically delivered by March 21st, 1 week ahead of schedule. Ad sales topped $5,000 for the 3rd year in a row, cutting printing costs by about 30%. A big shout out to the senior yearbook photography editor, capturing 90% of the sports photos while balancing a co-op job. The Multicultural Club showed their appreciation for our custodial staff with Valentine's Day cards and chocolates with messages in both Spanish and English. Club members also attended Miss Callister's Green Birds Black History Month presentation. Now they're gearing up for the cultural night at Whittier Tech Friday, March 14th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. before the play. Poetry Club's last meeting was a blast. 6 students helped prepare for the March Madness Poetry Edition, where poems compete through Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final 4 to crown a winner. The competition is fierce. The Key Club handed out 200 Valentine's Day cards in February to Meals on Wheels in Salisbury and elderly housing in Newburyport. They're finishing up cards for St. Patrick's Day and will soon start Easter cards. With the art club, some of the students have been painting cement sculptures from masonry to be displayed during the NECO's visit on March 28th. They also finished up helping out set up for the Little Mermaid play. They created a large target on the gym floor to use for the Huck-a-Duck fundraiser as well. The United Nations Club meets Tuesdays for debates and will attend the UMass Lowell Model UN Conference on March 27th to 29th. Students will represent Denmark, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Argentina, while debating topics like weaponized drones, sustainable infrastructure, and transatlantic relations. Student government held annual student-faculty basketball game this past Tuesday. Buses were provided to spectators. They were excited to host this event. Hope everyone was there to cheer on classmates and the staff team. GSA Club is looking forward to celebrating the following upcoming events. International Trans Day of Visibility to celebrate the contributions of transgender people, and GLSEN's Day of No Silence, which is celebrated in April to raise awareness for the harmful events of harassment and discrimination of the LGBTQIA+ people in schools. The Environmental Club completed 10 tree identification signs for the Nature Walk project, with installation set for spring. The EnviroLog website is finalized, and field surveys planned to post placement. Students also set up a tower garden, harvesting fresh basil and lettuce for school's restaurant dishes. A final thank you to CAD for the finished designs. Peer to Peer Club had a meeting this past Tuesday to discuss starting canned food drives in April for local pantries. Continuing on with sports, the winter season has wrapped up and we're looking ahead to spring sports starting March 17th. Here's a recap of the winter season. The Whittier Tech girls basketball team had another great season, finishing 14-6 as CAC champs for the 14th time, Amesbury Christmas Tournament champs, state vocational semifinalists, and MIAA state tourney participants. They're looking forward to next year as they have a young team but experienced. The boys basketball team finished up their season on February 14th. They finished their season with a 6-14 record. The young group looks forward to next year, where they will have a lot of players with varsity experience returning. The boys hockey team finished their regular season ranked number 26 in the MIAA Division II standings with a record of 8-10-2, as they went to defeat number 7 Walpole and number 10 Boston Latin before ending their season with a loss in the Elite 8 against number seeded 2 Woburn. 3 standout players from Whittier Tech were selected for the CAL First Team All-Stars. The team looks forward to next season with a young but promising group. Lastly, the wrestling team finished their season this past weekend in Providence, Rhode Island for the New England tournament. The team finished with an overall record of 13-7, 4th in the Division II North Sectional Tournament and 11th at the Division II State Tournament. They had 4 boys and 2 girls qualify for the All-State Tournament, and 1 boy qualified for the New England Tournament. Logan Hauk, 215 pounds, was the sectional champ, state finalist, and all-state semifinalist. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Great report as always. Next item on the agenda is going to be the Principal's Assistant Superintendent Report. Mr. Leganis, school happenings.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Lynch, rest of the school committee members, and once again, I am lucky to stand up here and always knowing that we have a great school committee and a great superintendent that puts kids first. So, have to say that, even though I'm Greek, the luck of the Irish. Anyway, principal's report, a lot of this, Kaylee, thank you for taking the thunder, because that's where it should be. The sports are done, as you heard, and spring is here. If you could believe it, our spring sports are starting up very soon. The winter sports, I just want to thank the student athletes, the coaches for their dedication. Tomorrow, March 13th, from 6 to 8 p.m., we have our winter sports banquet already. And also thanks goes out to the Booster Club, and a special shout out to the wrestling team, as you heard. all New England heavyweight. I think it's the first time that we had someone go all New England that far, as well as the Whittier Amesbury hockey team. I was actually there with Coach Brads. Yeah, and it was amazing in Stoneham. Just an amazing high school event, MIA event, packed house full of kids, and our kids really represented from Amesbury, Whittier. I believe, when I was watching our goaltenders from Whittier, as well as there were 3 or 4 other kids that were playing that night from Whittier Tech, so it was kind of cool to see those kids. But a great event, an amazing rank 26, as you heard, to get all the way to the Elite 8, which is now in Boston, in the Garden, the finals in the Garden. I believe Bill Rickers made it to the end against Canton. So that's the story. Congratulations to all. All spring sports, like I said, they start March 17th, St. Patty's Day. And then on Tuesday, March 11th at 2 p.m., we had the basketball game, staff basketball game, which is another amazing event that you heard. And the staff won. I do think that they're practicing here and there quietly. And as a matter of fact, I do know that they practice. So the kids are a little surprised when the staff shows up and beats them. Skills USA on March 13th, we have 164 students representing all vocational areas. They'll be participating in the District 4 qualifying exam. The district online testing event will take place on site at Whittier. Jane Muskovitz, who's like a guru in Skills USA, she's just does an amazing job getting this together, so we're getting our skills kids ready for the competitions. The Whittier chapter of Skills, they'll be holding a fundraiser, like Kaylee said, March 25th at the American Flatbread in Georgetown, and the proceeds will go to Whittier Tech Skills USA, which is, there's a little aside to that. The money raised will be used to purchase a boom, which is placed in the Merrimack River through the great efforts of the Clean River Project. The Clean River Project is a nonprofit organization with a mission of cleaning and preserving the 45-mile stretch of the Merrimack River. Whittier Chapter Skills USA have been working with the Clean River Project since the start of the school year. Students will be presenting their work at the Massachusetts Skills USA State Leadership Conference. So once again, our kids in the forefront of everything. All week, 2 freshmen started their shops today, which is pretty exciting. And then Saturday school, I don't know if this is exciting, but we're in the process of setting that up with Lisa for our kids to make up attendance starting very soon. And those Saturdays will go all the way through graduation and then into a little June. And then, of course, we have summer school that we have to look to open up as well. So it gives kids to have the recovery for their attendance. Winter spring performances this weekend, so don't forget, pencil in 7 o'clock Friday, 7 o'clock Saturday, and 2 o'clock on Sunday. And Little Mermaid is our spring performance title. The Multicultural Club, also right before Fridays, they're off at 4:30 to 6:30, as Kaylee said, and that's pretty cool too. The diversity of the school is shown, and it's an amazing evening. Parents and kids, they set up booths and from the different countries that a lot of our kids are from. So it's really neat. The foods, the culture. So it's fun to see if you have, you want to get there earlier. You go into the show on Friday night, 4:30 to 6:30. The guidance team, they're wrapping up interviews, 9:30 class, and decisions will be made at the end of the month about our kids, our new kids coming in. Graduation activities, it's out there already. Here we go. Our graduation information is posted on the updates on our website, Principal Updates. The prom is that Tuesday, May 27th, and we're going to have it at the beautiful Blue Ocean down in Salisbury, which was an amazing event last year. Superintendent Lynch, myself, and the whole team. It was just an amazing night, beautiful night with the ocean. So we're going back again for the kids. So I can't wait for that event. So the 27th and then the 29th is our graduation, if you want to just put that in your calendars. English MCAS for sophomores takes place March 25th, 26th. We're going to do that reverse half day. All that information will be out in the website as well. And then Friday, April 11th, report cards for term 3. So we are cruising in to the final stretch here in the springtime. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
What time is that banquet tomorrow night?
Let's see, banquet is at, I believe, 6 o'clock. And let's see, let me get it for you, the exact time. Yeah, 6 to 8 o'clock.
In the
Yeah,
gym?
in the gymnasium, yeah.
Thank you.
They're gonna start and maybe have a little bit of
Cafeteria.
food.
Thank you.
And then everybody's gonna filter off into the gymnasium, and then filter off like we did into the different areas, the different rooms for the sports.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Business manager, no report posted, so the liaison for Whittier Tech and Northern Essex Community College, Mr. Reagan.
Good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Lynch. Pleasure to be with you again tonight to update everybody on the progress of the shared campus building project with Northern Essex Community College. There's been a lot of positive momentum since last time I addressed you guys a month ago. The municipal working group met February 25th and had a very encouraging meeting and discussion. It was attended by mayors, town managers, and city councilors from 10 of our communities, and everyone who spoke, and they all spoke, voiced strong interest and optimism on the proposed new high school in partnership and on the Northern Essex Community College campus. Most encouraging, everyone at the meeting agreed there will have to be a new regional agreement and a new capital funding formula at some point outlined to your previously meetings. Just real quick, mainly that's that everyone, one, amend the agreed regional agreement if and as required. Two, continue working together to develop the new school proposal. And three, to agree that the district must pay for the MSBA's feasibility study, which again has an estimated price tag of $2 to $2.5 million. The next working group meeting is Friday, March 21st at NECO. The last one, of course, you recall, was here. I also want to mention two other important items coming up. The working group is working with Superintendent Lynch and NEC President Lane Glenn on a press release to explain the process so far and where we are headed. We expect to release the release sometime after the next working group meeting. Again, not this Friday, but the Friday after. The main focus of the release will be to highlight our communications plan and our current priority of obtaining the signed letters for MSBA from the chief executive of each of our district communities. At the last meeting, all the officials that were there, those were the two things they really wanted us to focus on, the communications plan, and they wanted us to explain and talk about the letter that they're soon going to be asked to sign. The long-awaited UMass Donahue report and recommendations is finally done, and we will be posting it soon on both the Whittier Tech and NECO website. The main recommendation of the nearly 100-page year-long report is that Whittier Tech and NECO should pursue a collaborative shared campus model in which the two schools shared space and services. As a refresher, the Donahue Institute is a public service research and economic development arm of the University of Massachusetts. For more than a year, they examined and identified potential new funding streams, cost-saving ideas, mixed campus models, and best practices for partnering academic, career training, and workforce development institutions. The study included interviews with residents and municipal officials in the Whittier Tech District and analyzed data on the regional workforce, demographics, and labor market. And it's done. We expect to release it soon, and we'll get copies along with the press release to the school committee members as soon as we're able to. So that's my update for this month. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Early?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that question about updating the communities.
Sure.
When do you say you're gonna send that to the community, give them an update?
So we're going to send it out, I believe, pretty quickly after the next.
So it's gonna happen soon?
Yes, right after the next working group meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all done. We just want to run it by the working group, get their input, do any amendments, do any modifications, so they have ownership of it with us, can help us promote it, and then we're going to get it out there.
What
to everybody.
negative or improvements are the communities asking you about? What,
Well, as we all know, everybody speaks, at least everybody that I talk to speaks very highly of Whittier Tech. Everybody loves it. They're very interested, and curious about the NECO, partnership, the possibility of, having a joint new high school on the campus. Obviously, they have a lot of questions. They want to know what the details are. They want to know what the costs are. Unfortunately, we're quite a ways away, at least months from knowing those answers. The MSBA study which will, answer a lot of that, isn't even gonna start, if we're lucky, until midsummer. So, we don't have a lot of the details, we don't know how much it's gonna cost, but, we know, the superintendent and the college president have done a really good job keeping everybody focused on where we're at, moving forward, and sort of taking each, challenge as it presents itself. So, I guess we're staying the course is probably right now the best way to
Now,
describe it. Go ahead.
the 400 million plus that was anticipated at one time, do they talk about that number? Of they agreeing with it, disagreeing with it?
Right, well, I think that one of the main, sort of reasons that we're looking at, going to NECO is there's a lot of cost savings potentially there. Shared space, we can tap into different, money from at the state, higher education money, grants and things like that are out there, gonna open up potentially a whole new avenue of funding. But the numbers, you probably, anyone who follows this kind of stuff has seen, there've been some school building projects that have been, 600 million, 700 million, so we know that it's getting more and more expensive to build schools right now. But the reason that we're looking at NECO, or one of the big reasons, in addition to that it's gonna be a new and wonderful, thing, it's for any cost savings, and it's to try to come to the communities with a less expensive, proposal than, last time. But, we don't know, the cost of construction's only going up, we don't know when this is, when those estimates will come in, but, right now, that's the plan, and that's sort of the emphasis. And everyone knows we need to come in with something, hopefully, that will compare well against the first proposal.
Hypothetically, we could be building a new one. We still have on the table, we have a treatment plant that we have make a decision on soon. So
Yep,
a lot of moving parts here.
yep, that's for sure.
Thank you.
So, all right.
Mr. Murphy? Is there a due date for those signed letters from the communities?
Yep,
July 1st.
July 1st. Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Lai?
Do we, on that same vein, do we actually have like a draft of the letter that we're going to be asking these community municipal officials to sign off on, or is that part of what you'll develop as part of it?
Yeah, we're developing it. I believe our attorney is working on it now. It may or may not be ready for the next meeting, but yeah, it's gonna pretty much follow those three items that, the MSBA said we had to, we have to get consensus on, or basically we have to get, commitment to. So, it'll be those three items, with whatever the legalese is, and again, I think our attorney is working on it right now, so we should have it pretty soon, and we'll show that to you as well, I hope.
Any other questions?
One more question. All the towns represented at these meetings?
10 were at the last one.
So there's still one missing?
Yep, and we're still talking to them, we're still, everyone gets invited, we're still hopeful that, eventually we get everyone there.
Thank you.
But, we got 10 or 11.
Anyone else? Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Good job.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda, reports and recommendations of the superintendent. First one's calendar events for the past month, Madam Superintendent.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. On Friday, February 14th, I attended a legislative breakfast at Northern Essex Community College along with Lane Glenn. We were both able to give a brief update about exactly what Sean just gave you. And there's a lot of interest, and people are really kind of excited about the possibilities of us working together. On Thursday, February 20th, I again met with Lane Glenn, president. He and I have almost every other day meetings, it seems sometimes. On Tuesday, February 25th, I attended the Whittier Tech Northern Essex Municipal Group meeting that was held at Whittier. We were able to have lunch and share, what's been going on, and again, people were really excited. I am happy to report that 10 of our cities and towns attended, and all were in favor of us working together and possibly amending the regional agreement. On Wednesday, February 26th, I had a call with MSBA regarding our progress. On Thursday, February 27th, I attended the MASS Executive Committee meeting in Marlborough. There is much concern about federal funding for schools and what may happen to many of our entitlement grants. This is something that Kara and I are beginning to work on, different scenarios if certain things were to happen, how we have to manage that and take care of that. On February 28th, I attended the MAVA leadership meeting. We had a discussion about the board's meeting this week and the rollout of a new admissions policy. On Thursday, March 6th, I, along with Kara Murphy and Kara Murphy, you're married to Kara. Kara Cosmas and Brett Murphy by phone. Brett Murphy was by phone to talk about the OPM for the wastewater treatment plant. We are very anxious to get started on that project. On Friday, March 7th, I attended the Hall of Fame meeting here hosted at Whittier, our Athletic Hall of Fame. We will be doing our second round of inductions in the fall of next year. On March 10th, I went to DESE headquarters in Everett. It's my first time at the new headquarters in Everett to hear the board discuss vocational CT admissions. The draft was released Monday morning around 10 o'clock, and we didn't have much time to review it before we went to the meeting. DESE is proposing a weighted lottery where discipline and attendance will be reviewed. And I provided you a copy of the new regulations or possible regulations. So a little bit is, and I'll just share, a weighted lottery system for Whittier career technical education or programs in which all students are entered. And they want this to begin in the admission cycle for next year for students enrolling for the fall of 2026. All the lottery will be conducted in a public place. They want it to be very transparent as we move forward. Students, and when I say weighted, you get extra points you get an extra point if you, or an extra, I guess your name gets put in a hat again, if you don't have more than 27 absences or a discipline of a 37H and a half or 37H, which is a pretty significant discipline concern. So everyone gets put in, and then what we have to decide is how that works with allotment. Do we do average? Do we just put all the names in? So we're gonna have some work to do, but I would recommend, because I did share the information, I really think it's important that the board hears your how you feel about this and what you think is the positives and the negatives, and you know, and what this would mean for Whittier Tech. So I know I plan on writing something, but I know that they would appreciate hearing your voice as well, because I think it's really important that you are the school committee for this district, and you should have some sort of a say in how this is rolled out. So that is all I have for you tonight.
All right. We also have the recommended budget for FY '26. It's for a vote. Which we went over at the last budget hearing, so is there we have multiple motions.
So moved.
So let's see here.
Too early?
Yeah, there's 5 different motions that we need. All right, so we need a motion to accept function 2323 teacher aid budget in the amount of $347,058. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. True, seconded by, motion by Ms. O'Connor, seconded by
It can be me.
Ms. True. Anybody?
Okay.
Any discussion on this item?
Can you repeat that number again?
It's a motion to accept function 2323, which is the teacher aid budget, in the amount of $347,058. I believe this has to be separate out because someone has to abstain.
Thank you.
All right, call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Abstain.
Yes, passes. A motion to accept function 2700 guidance budget in the amount of $905,272. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Murphy, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Any discussion?
Could you repeat that number, please?
$905,272. Again, this has to be separated out because someone needs to abstain. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Abstain.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
You Me as yes as well, passes. Motion to accept function 5250, insurance for the retired school employees in the amount of $1,325,185. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lai, seconded by Ms. Coppinger. Any discussion? Again, I believe this has to be separated out due to an abstention. Please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Abstained?
Mr. O'Connor's not here. Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Yes from me, passes. Motion to accept the remainder of the FY '26 recommended operating budget in the amount of $29,080,488. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, seconded by Ms. True. Any discussion on the budget?
Could you repeat
Mr.
that
Early.
number, please?
$29,080,488.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the budget to send to the public hearing? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Yes. Passes. And then a motion to accept the FY '26 capital assessment in the amount of $695,000.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Ms. True,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Lai. Any discussion on the capital assessment amount? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Yes, passes. All right. Next item on the agenda are old business, no old business posted, new business, school committee self-evaluation form. I think you all should have a copy of the self-evaluation form to fill out. It should be in your packets this week. Next item under new business is reestablishment of a finance subcommittee. Ms. Delai.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did ask that a memo that I drafted be included, only because sometimes I express myself better in writing than I do verbally. I think it summarizes, but just to give you kind of a recap, the reason why I think that this is important is, first of all, it's a best practice, a common practice throughout the Commonwealth. More importantly, it has a very sound and purposeful basis in our policy. Our policy references the finance subcommittee in several places in our budget policies. I also am a strong believer that we should all have the opportunity and have access to be considered for inclusion on the finance subcommittee and for discussion, deliberation on the budget. And I think that should be based on our interest versus necessarily on, being a chair of a subcommittee. So I think, like I said, it's got a sound basis in policy. I certainly don't have the authority to dictate what the role of the subcommittee would be, but I took the time to pull out from our policies what they speak to in terms of the role of the finance subcommittee. So I appreciate your consideration for that requested action.
Mr. Early.
I'm just trying to get this straightened out in my head. What's the difference between this and the executive session? I mean, the executive board that we have?
The executive subcommittee is not established in policy. There's no big reference in our policies to an executive subcommittee. There is reference to a finance subcommittee. The executive subcommittee, as it's been explained to me, is comprised of the chair, the vice chair, I'm not sure if any of the other officers, and then the chairs of the subcommittees. That's not documented anywhere. I understand that that's the practice. That's not established anywhere in policy. And so if the executive subcommittee has determined that it is to serve the function of the finance subcommittee, then I think at the very least, that should be specified somewhere, as should, the membership or who gets to be part of that executive subcommittee. What I'm requesting is that we reestablish, as the policy indicates, a finance subcommittee. There must have been one at some point because it's in the policy. And that subcommittee would serve the role that the executive subcommittee is now serving vis-a-vis the budget, but also additional roles as are spelled out in our policies.
The executive board already does the stuff that the finance subcommittee would be doing. So would it make sense to just change verbiage or, like committee titles, so everything is copacetic, versus forming yet another subcommittee? I mean, that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Where the job is already being done, but let's just correct our words and policy,
Right. The difference for me is that the executive subcommittee is established, has a membership. It's not written anywhere, but the membership is determined based on if you're a chair of a subcommittee or if you are an executive officer. Whereas the finance subcommittee would be established just like any other subcommittee, policy subcommittee, curriculum subcommittee. It would be, you express your interest in serving on the committee, and the chair would determine who would serve on the committee, and then the committee would elect its chair annually, as we do per policy for the other subcommittees.
Well, I understand how a subcommittee's put together. To me, it's, you're just duplicating efforts of something that's already being done. We just need to change the terminology. The
I
group's
guess I
already in
don't,
place.
I see it differently because the executive subcommittee is not formed in the same way that the other subcommittees are formed. Not everybody has the ability or is offered access or opportunity to serve on the executive subcommittee. That's not appointed by the chair, as the other committees are.
Mr. Murphy?
I think before voting on this, that it probably should go through the policy subcommittee.
It doesn't require a change in policy. This is already in our policy.
What's in our policy?
The existence of a finance subcommittee.
But you're questioning how it was formed.
I'm asking that we establish an actual finance subcommittee that is appointed in the same way that the other subcommittees are appointed. I think it's a good idea, when we talk about our self-evaluation and board governance, I think it's a good idea that if the committee has subcommittees, that our policies or our operating rules specify what those subcommittees are and what the role of those subcommittees are. We don't have any such language. We have in policy the basis for 2 subcommittees, policy and finance. That's it. So it's fine that you have an executive subcommittee, but there's no documentation as to how it is formed, who's on it. There's a past practice, I understand,
Yeah.
but there's not actually
Well,
any.
again, maybe policy subcommittee should look at that as well.
Any other discussion? Mr. Early?
I've been here almost 25 years. Mr. Irving been maybe a month before me. We never had it before. I don't believe we should have to go to a policy committee for it. I don't believe we need this finance committee, and I will not vote for it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Drew?
So in terms of finance, I mean, every month we get a lot of information, and if it were sent to a committee, I don't know that I'd be comfortable with that, because I like the fact that every month we get about a week to review all of the financial information that we're given, and we're given a lot. It could be a variance, or it could be a treasurer's report, or it might be the audit that's coming. That's a 3-booklet thing. It's quite a lot, but we're given time to review that, all of us, every month. And then we come here and the public is able to hear us discuss it and So it's predictable, I mean, I'm not sure that, I do see having a finance committee and an executive as being redundant, so maybe policy could look at our policy, change, make the change if they thought that changing it to a finance committee as opposed to executive. But the other thing about executive committee that I was thinking about is, a lot of people on the executive committee have been here for a really long time. I've been here 10 years, and I've never served on the executive. I'm brand new to it. I think Scott, you're also new.
Yeah, I've
to-
never
to
served on it
executive.
before.
So I think one of the advantages is that we've been through so many budget processes over the years. I know I do my homework, and I talk with Kara quite a bit during budget season. And then when we get together, we're all very experienced, in terms of budget. I certainly wasn't my first year. I didn't know what was going on because I don't have a background in municipal finance, but asking questions and getting the information from Kara was key. And then, listening, just getting, understanding what we're up against and how difficult it can be with 11 communities and 14 members. But at the moment, I just feel like the system is working, but if we need to rename something because our policies don't align with what we're doing, then I think that should be looked at. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
Ms. Carpenter?
If I understand correctly, your concern about how people are appointed to the executive committee, I think that we who are on the subcommittees who elect or appoint our chair for the subcommittee are aware of their job in the executive committee and what we're giving them permission to do. That's just my view.
Yeah, and if I.
Mr. Lai? You done, Ms. Carpenter? Yes.
In no way is this meant to, be disrespectful of the executive subcommittee. It just so happens that these facts are true, right? We have a finance subcommittee and policy. It's clear from the way that the policies read in the policy subcommittee and the finance subcommittee that those subcommittees are appointed in a certain manner, and everybody has the access and the opportunity to apply for a role on that subcommittee. I understand, with all due respect, that in a subcommittee you're appointing your chair. Whether or not every single person who's appointing their chair to their subcommittee understands that that person is now being delegated responsibility for reviewing budget and finance, I don't know that that's the case. Hopefully now everybody does know. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that that person might be more qualified than somebody else who is not serving in a subcommittee chair role, but may have a lot to offer to the process. And I understand that everybody's invited and recognized and such, but there are always going to be some people who are more or less experienced in budget. It doesn't have anything to do with how long you've served on the committee. Certainly serving on the committee for a long period of time gives you an understanding of how the budget's changed from year to year. But I've looked back at budgets going back 10 years. I sent out to everybody some guidelines about what makes a best practice budget. Our own policies state that we will use best practices to develop our budget. And so I think that should be the guidance that we use, our policy, in terms of how the budget is developed, community involvement in the budget process. And I think the role of the finance subcommittee would be to ensure that those policies, what's established in policy for how we develop the budget and how we review financial information, that is the task and the sole task of the finance subcommittee. And it's established in policy. And its membership would be inclusive, fully inclusive to anyone who had interest or experience to serve in that role. So I think it's different than just changing or designating that the subcommittee will somehow serve the function of the finance. The executive subcommittee will serve the role of the finance subcommittee. That's different than what's being proposed.
Anyone else? To me, I said this when I come up, and I have no idea how it happened 25 years ago or whatever, I wasn't here. My guess is that the executive committee has been acting, obviously, as the finance subcommittee. I think it's just really a title, per se, issue. I'm not sure the executive committee handles really anything besides financial issues anyway, so it's basically the finance subcommittee with a different name. How that happened over the course of the years, I don't know. If Mr. Early doesn't know, or Mr. Irvin doesn't know, they've been here a while. I'm not sure how that happened. My guess is it's just really a name type issue, because it seems like the responsibilities of the subcommittee, of the executive subcommittee, are very similar to that of what a finance subcommittee is. It seems as if they act as that, and they're just called the executive subcommittee. So how that happened, I don't know, but that's my assumption of things. I don't really have a strong opinion that it has to be called the finance subcommittee or whatever. It seems to me that it's playing the role of the finance subcommittee. Now, whether or not it should be called that, I don't really know. But it does seem, I don't think other members would know better than me, because I haven't served on the executive committee prior to this year. But it seems to me, Mr. Murphy, I think you were on it for a while, it seems to me basically that really it's financially related that the executive subcommittee handles, right? So for all intents and purposes, I think it is the finance subcommittee with a different name. How that happened, I literally have no clue. But that's the way it seems to me.
Do you want to make a motion on this to establish a finance subcommittee and vote on it?
Do I want to make a motion?
No.
No, I don't.
I want
but-
to make a motion to establish a finance committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
So he's made a motion to establish a finance subcommittee.
Yes.
At some point, someone would have to figure out, if it did pass, somebody would have to figure out the roles and responsibilities of whatever this subcommittee is.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
probably have to go to policy. You're gonna establish something new.
But
And maybe the direction of the executive committee also. I believe the executive committee basically is the officers of the committee, plus the chairs of the subcommittees, which would be an executive subcommittee.
Right. No, I think you're right, that if we were gonna establish it, that it would have to go at some point to the policy subcommittee, unless this motion's voted down, then it wouldn't have to go to the policy subcommittee, because everything would just stay the same.
We have a motion on the table now.
Mr. Lai?
The 2 points. The executive subcommittee is established in a very different way than any of the other subcommittees. So to say that the executive subcommittee has been operating as the finance subcommittee, I think is not exactly true. Secondly, no other subcommittee is referenced in policy other than policy and finance. So I would say if you're going to have the policy subcommittee tasked with creating roles and responsibilities of the finance subcommittee, then they also will need to do so for all of your other subcommittees, because you have to treat them the same, I would imagine.
Well, this is establishing something new. We already have the others.
You don't. There's nowhere in policy or any of these committees, subcommittees established other than the policy and the finance subcommittee. Those are the only 2 subcommittees that are established by policy in the Whittier Tech School Committee Manual.
Mr. Early?
So again, I think we're confusing the executive committee also here. Basically, if you wanted to have a committee to work on the finances with the administration, and then bring it, I still think it would have to go to the executive committee, who is kind of the final arbiter of voting and representing the various communities, prior to sending a budget to those communities.
Where is that established as being required?
Well, first of all, the
All right.
laws and bylaws.
So that we follow, all comments go through the chair, no back and forth between members, okay? We're gonna follow Robert's Rules of Orders. You have the floor, no one else has the floor, all comments go through the chair.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Early.
We have laws, we have bylaws, and we have policy. Policy can be changed by the executive officer, which is the chair, and his committee, which is the executive committee. That's how most organizations are established. I think this one has run that way for the last 30 years I know of.
Anyone else? Mr. Lai.
I have not seen any bylaw or operating rule or policy that references an executive subcommittee in the existence of it, nor its role. No law exists in the Commonwealth that requires that an executive subcommittee exist and that they have the approval authority over the budget. That's an organizational decision, and those decisions are usually documented either, as you say, in a rule, an order, a bylaw. That does not exist for this school committee. So the only thing that exists are law and policy on this matter. And the only subcommittees that exist in policy are finance and policy.
Ms. Lowell, I think your hand's up.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure, because I know there's a motion on the floor, so I guess I will speak to that. That it does appear that Mr. Light has raised that we do have the language that we have a finance subcommittee. And we're arguing over the language of who's doing that job, but ultimately, right now, as she has pointed out, the policy says we have that group, and that people can join that group according, that there's, just like the other committees that we've formed that aren't named in our policies. But this is one that is specific to our policies as a board, so, as a committee. So I feel we do have to honor that, or send it to policy to change it if it's not something we want to honor. I guess that I'm just looking at it very literally, not necessarily based on who's been filling out the roles or doing whatever. But if our policy states that we have this committee, finance committee, then I believe we should either A, have it, or B, send it to policy to change it. So I guess on the floor is the motion to establish the policy, the committee, which is part of our policies. And if we wanted, to just do that for now, and if people want to change the policy down the road, they can. But at this point, if we do have that as a policy, I don't know why we wouldn't have that as a committee.
Mr. Early, did you have you? Mr. Irvin?
Perhaps we should have, maybe, at least to research the policy manual and bring up and send out a copy of what the finance subcommittee is and what its bylaw is, or its structure is, so then we all have a better understanding of voting for this.
I agree. I don't feel comfortable voting on it tonight. I'd like some more information before I do that.
Well, a motion to table takes precedence. We'll call the roll on the motion to table. Is there a date certain on the motion to table, or is it just a motion to table? There's no majority vote of the committee to take it off the table, then it stays on the table indefinitely.
So a yes is to keep it off the table.
A yes puts it on the table. It's tabled. The discussion's over, everything stays the same.
Thank you.
So we need a motion for that, or did you?
It's already done.
It's already in.
Yep. So a yes vote puts this on the table to whenever, and everything stays the same. A no vote would mean no, and then we'll take this back up and decide, is it gonna go to policy subcommittee, is it gonna go here, is it gonna go there? Okay?
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger.
Yes.
Mr. Lai,
No.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mr. Irving,
Yes?
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Lowell,
Yes,
Ms. True,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski.
Yes.
Motion is tabled until the majority of the committee takes it off. Next item on the agenda is reports of the special committees. Executive, Mr. Wood, there's minutes from February 12th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Murphy, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Executive subcommittee, I was absent, so abstain.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Passes. Instructional Personnel Committee, Ms. True, looks like no meetings were scheduled.
No, we had one in January, and I don't know, we're good for now, okay.
All right. Plan Operations, Mr. Murphy, looks like you have the minutes here from February 4th.
Yes, I have the minutes, and I also want to know if we need to have a meeting scheduled.
We should probably have a meeting before our next school committee meeting,
Okay.
the April meeting. Would that work?
Pardon?
The April meeting is 6 o'clock?
Yep, that'd be fine.
I have a quick question. Where does it stand with the OPM that we talked about? Has he been hired? Is he on board?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes of February 4th.
Motion by Mr. Murphy, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Samowski. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call. What?
Who did you hire?
Wesson.
Weston and Sampson.
Sampson, okay, thank you.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Passes. Salary and negotiations, Mr. Early.
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday, and we have some upcoming meetings soon. Other than that, there's a lot of moving parts.
All right.
Thank you.
Policy, Mr. Irvin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes in your packet of February 26th.
Motion by Mr. Irvin to approve the minutes of February 26th. Is there a second? Ms. Coppinger, seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Passes. Mr. Irvin.
Chairman, in your packet this evening, you'll find policy I-10. This talks about graduation requirements. Tessie has been in contact with us as far as new requirements for graduation. We had Dr. Kelly Fay there to explain to us, plus a couple of the administration folks. And basically, she talked to us about electives of the junior and senior year. Everyone will have to take a financial literacy class and then hook it with another class. It's a half a semester course, or semester course rather than two. And so this is the plan for the school to go forward. We need that in the student handbooks and the program of studies, et cetera. So we need to move that for a first reading at this point tonight.
All right. Motion by Mr. Irvin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. True. Any discussion on the first reading of the graduate requirements? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Coppinger?
Yes.
Ms. Delai?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Irving?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Lowell?
Yes.
Ms. True?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Slavoski?
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just a couple housekeeping items. Now that the proposal for the admissions requirement, I will put a subcommittee together now on that, so you guys can meet to talk about that. If people are interested in serving on that, please let me know, and I will appoint a couple of members to do that. And then, lastly, I did send you all an email. There's a student at Whittier Votech getting a scholarship through an organization I sent you. Whittier Votech is now in second place with the highest scholarship, so if you can spread that around, trying to get Whittier Votech at first place in that category. We've never been in second place. Actually, it's the highest we've ever been, so We're usually down at 4 or 5.
What do we
with
have
all
to
the
do?
local schools. Just you can make a donation. I can give you the information offline, but it's a combination of Greater Lawrence Vogue, Whittier Vogue, Lawrence, Haverhill, Methuen, and I think there's one more. We're always down at 4th or 5th place. We've been between 1st and 2nd the whole time.
How'd we get up this high?
We've been promoting it this time.
So that's the email that you sent us?
I did, yes.
Okay, I know the one, I kept it, okay.
So,
What is the deadline?
I believe there's 2 weeks left in the competition. We've been in first place the whole time, but Mr. DeMoulas just came in and put Lawrence in first place. But we're right on their heels. I think there's like a $1,500 difference between Whittier Tech and Lawrence for first place. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Gerald, second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Anybody opposed? We are adjourned.